to discuss one final issue, the topic of sacking managers willy-nilly to achieve success. Chelsea have done it time and time again. Dominic, you've been covering Chelsea and other clubs for many years now. Also looking at the fact they're not afraid to pull the trigger. They don't wait. Look at Frank Lampard and the success they've achieved with Thomas Tuchel. Look at Pellegrini at Manchester City. They weren't afraid to say goodbye. It's not that he was doing a bad job, but Guardiola came in and changed the landscape of the Premier League. Brendan Rodgers had taken Liverpool the closest to the Premier League title than anybody else before him. They said goodbye to him and they got Klopp in. Watford, Adam's club, they're in the Premier League. They're back in the big time and they've never been afraid to say bye-bye. So where do you stand on this, Dom? Do you think Manchester United should be saying we don't want to have a legacy manager like Sir Alex Ferguson? We can't be caught up in the nostalgia of Solskjaer when maybe we should have sacked him earlier, and be willing to bite the bullet to try and achieve success. This is a side that haven't really competed for the Premier League title since Sir Alex Ferguson left. It's been close to a decade now.
Yeah, look, I can understand why they want to recreate the Ferguson years, era. That's perfectly natural. It was outstanding. He was the best manager we've ever seen. But it's probably not very healthy because they're not going to be able to do it. That's the reality of it. It's very unlikely these days. As it stands at the moment, Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp are the nearest thing we've got to legacy managers, I think, in the Premier League. You can look at Chelsea, fine example. I think I sort of came onto the scene covering them from about 2004, and I think I've seen 14 different managerial changes in that time. But I've also seen 2 Champions League trophies, 2 Europa Leagues, and 5 Premier League titles being won by Chelsea. And what they have no sentimentality there, which is that's what they showed when they got rid of Frank Lampard. There's a ruthlessness, but they've also set a standard. The bar is set, and if you're threatening not to reach that bar, and that bar is the top 4 in qualification for the Champions League, at any point of a season, if it looks as if you might not hit that target, then you're out. Doesn't matter who you are. Carlo Ancelotti won a double and was, by Christmas the next season, he was a dead man walking. Jose Mourinho the same in many ways. He won the title in 2015, and by Christmas he'd gone. That is just how they operate, and it does work. It's brutal. It's not maybe what Manchester United fans and the club want to promote, but it guarantees you success. Well, it doesn't guarantee you success. It gives you the chance of success in the Chelsea model, and it's allied with heavy investment, obviously, and it's not just on the coach. They've got a very, very, very good squad and a very, very good academy producing players. But at some point, you just have to make a choice. Do we want to be winning trophies in the short term, or do we want to stick with a man that we hope comes good at some point in the future, possibly, maybe? That is the choice they have to make, and the Chelsea model has been proven to work.
Yeah, but let's try. I don't know if you have numbers at hand here, Mark. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm also looking at the appointment of a manager mid-season and the new manager bounce, which we often see, we often talk about. And look at Chelsea with their new manager bounce. On 2 occasions, they've gone on to win the Champions League. Was it Di Matteo? And then obviously Thomas Tuchel coming in mid-season. Now, where do you draw the line when it comes to data in terms of short-termism and the new manager bounce versus the long-term effect of having someone in charge? I mean, Solskjaer would be a prime example. Amazing start, but he's no longer at the job.
Yeah, it's a bit of a phenomenon, isn't it, the manager bounce? And I don't have the numbers to kind of back it up, but I suppose you do see it in Chelsea, and specifically that they do benefit from a manager bounce, even if it is drawn out over a period of months, sort of couple of years. And then, as Dom said, the minute you start to see a bit of a slide, you just get a new manager in, and then you experience that manager bounce again. And then, even if it sort of plateaus a little bit, then they'll at least win a cup or a trophy or something. But I think, to echo what Dom said as well, I think those days are gone to have people in the position for even close to a decade, I think. I mean, you think as well, Manchester United would have learned from Liverpool of how they had the boot room style of passing it down the line, and then it went to Souness and Roy Evans in the 90s. And ultimately, I think they came out with 1, maybe 2 trophies, and not big ones at that. And they realized that didn't work. And then they went to the more sort of conventional route of finding managers from all over Europe. So I think that those days are gone now, and they were kind of gone some time ago until Wenger and Ferguson sort of left their position. So I think we're just operating in a different period and era now.
Yeah. Finally, for you, Adam, I mean, you cover Watford extensively, and I know the ownership, of course, is different to what Manchester United have, and we don't need to get into that part. But what about the sustainability of constantly changing managers? Because Watford, even more so than Chelsea, are quite feasibly able to have 3 to 4 managers in a single season. They're not afraid to pull the trigger. And do you feel this is actually a solution for United in the sense that they have to stop being afraid of doing this?
I think the key thing really is, defining your model and your structure is the most important thing, because that's where Manchester United are falling down at the moment. And I suppose, I know you mentioned earlier on, we all sort of alluded to the fact that the squad is good enough and they're not in transition. They are, as Mark was saying, they're ready to win now. But almost the model and the structure behind the scenes is in transition, and they actually need to clearly define it. With Darren Fletcher as a sporting director, technical director, if you're going to have that model, then that feeds into, it's not going to always be on the manager to be, playing a huge role in buying the players. So you have a little bit more ability to say, right, we're going to pop in a manager into our structure, and he will be there simply to be a head coach rather than a manager, and actually try and get the best out of that squad. And that's something that exists at Watford, and it always has done. And that's, I think, why it does confuse a lot of people when they see, oh, look, another tweet's come through, Watford have sacked another head coach, because they'll go, how can they do it? How can they do it? Well, they do it because they believe in their structure. They've always had a sporting director. They've always had a recruitment team, and it's not been down to the head coach to buy the players. And that's often where you get into a situation, and we've even seen it at Manchester United, whereby players come in with one manager and then they're out of favour with the next. And that's where you get into those financial difficulties that, Matt Slater was alluding to, that it's not sustainable. So I think that they have to be very, very clear now what they're going to do. And maybe during this period where they've got the interim before the interim and all that malarkey, then yes, they can actually spend this next, however many months it is, 6 months to the end of the season, actually nailing down their structure when they've got the likes of Ed Woodward going out and, Darren Fletcher coming in. I think they need to really, really sort that out. Obviously, it's destabilizing if you do it all the time, then that bleeds through to the players. Will they actually want to be part of that sort of setup? Would they rather be at a club where they know what the overall project is? But, you have to make sure that you bring the right person in that understands what they're coming into. And Watford sometimes have got that right. Often they've not got it right. But on the whole, if you look at what they've actually done at a club of their size, couple of promotions, FA Cup final, plenty of big moments, beating the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea, and not Manchester City. We're not so good against Manchester City, but they've provided some big moments and excitement, and that is the overall aim. And at the moment, Manchester United don't know which way they're going, and if they're actually really on a significant downward spiral, which is the most concerning for United fans.